releases and a few unreleased tracks. This is going to be quite the treat.
When we collide, one look into your eyes is like I'm watching a beautiful sunrise. I bring out the shades, try to keep my heart tamed, anything from going insane.
Now for our throwback. Once again, Resonate took your votes. Released back in 2012 and featured on Monstercat 010, here is The Phoenix. To vote for next week's throwback, head over to live.monstercat.com during our podcast stream.
Now I feel you, and it does make me Love me too.
And now for some new music. You've waited a long time for Karma Field's album, and here you have it. This is another single off New Age, Dark Age. Here is For Me. Now time for our guest mix. Let's welcome to the stage, World.
Hey guys, this is World. I'll be mixing the next 30 minutes of the podcast. I'll be playing a few
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we close out week 6 of the Spring Hearthstone Half. I'm the Jordu, joined by Nomo Dogen. Similar to Wednesday's theme, we have some playoff spots potentially on the line. We head to the East in Group 6, where New York University takes on MIT. We'll keep it simple. Winner goes to the playoffs. New York University, with a win tonight, will clinch a playoff berth and a bump to the 3rd seed with 1 game remaining as they hold the tiebreaker with Marist. Win for MIT secures the tiebreaker position over New York University no matter what their Week 7 result is. Win or go home.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like an intense night to me. Dude, I am excited to see some of these games. And of course, before we get into them, we would like to thank our sponsors, Twitch, for supporting us at the CSL and featuring our matches weekly. We're proud to be affiliated with the largest gaming stream provider in the world, and Asus ROG. Asus is the presenting sponsor of the CSL this year. Asus makes some of the world's best gaming PCs, laptops, and monitors, and Asus is funding this season's travel to DreamHack and our prize pool for the year. So be sure to follow their social medias like at Asus_ROG and thank them for sponsoring the CSL. And with that, I guess we're ready to go ahead and jump into our first game.
Yep, it looks like they're already on their way. So we got Waxwing Slain versus Not a Rapper. Waxwing Slain coming from MIT. And it looks like the game is over already.
It's what? One sec.
Oh, okay.
Maybe
They just started too early, they thought. So they're just going to be started up with the same decks.
Oh, I see. Just a little communication error, I guess.
Yep, it's all good.
But apparently it seems like it's going to be Priest versus Warrior. Not
Yep.
sure who's who.
It looked like Warrior was coming from MIT and Priest was coming from New York.
Alrighty. If it's a control warrior, depending on how many legendaries they have and like how many entombs the priest has, that matchup could definitely go either way. There's a lot of key cards that make a big difference there.
Yeah. Do you think it's favored on one side more than the other?
I think in general, I think it favors the priest,
Yeah.
but it could definitely be swayed by like a couple of cards.
I feel like it
yeah.
also depends on how each player plays it out, because I know some people where their strategy as Warrior is that they get their tank up going and they just never play a minion into Entomb.
Right.
Normally that I've definitely been on the receiving end of that. And it's been like pretty frustrating when I'm just sitting on my hand of Entombs and then they have like 90 life and I can't do anything.
Yeah, there's definitely ways to play around the card. But sometimes you kind of need to play into it if the situation calls for it. But then again, Priest doesn't usually apply a whole lot of pressure. As we see, it's got like Valen's Chosen, 2 Zombie Chows, a Deathlord. This is not a deck that wants to be aggressive and win early. So we could have a nice slow control matchup here to start off this match.
Yeah. I also think it helps the Priest a lot if they have the at least Darkseeker in their deck. If they're not running it, then they just have like a bunch of reactive cards, but they can't really do anything after that. So the Elise helps with that matchup. And we've been seeing a lot of Control Warriors starting to throw Elise Darkseeker into their deck as well. So that could definitely help the Warriors side as well.
Right. I completely agree. Elise is definitely a card that could warp this matchup into either deck's favor. You have to play it at the right time. I mean, the Golden Monkey. All right, we see the Elise from Not a Rapper. But when you get the Golden Monkey, you kind of have to play it at the right time. Sometimes you don't want to play it immediately. I guess sometimes you do, but it depends on a few different things.
Yeah, you have to consider if you want to be trying potentially into the map later, earlier in the game or later, and that might help you decide if you want to play the Elise as soon as possible or just hold it off till later.
Yeah.
We see the warrior with the fiery war axe is going to answer the zombie chat really well. What's more important, I think, is that the warrior's opening hand has the Justicar Trueheart, so he could just throw that down on turn 6 and start tanking up.
Yeah, Justicar Trueheart gets so much value in these slow matchups. As long as you prioritize armoring up every turn, it really, really adds up over time. And can definitely give the priest a really, really difficult game. But not a rapper gonna skip his turn 2, doesn't want to play Wild Pyromancer into the Fiery War Axe, which kind of makes me feel like he's just gonna skip his next couple turns as well. I mean, it's not like the Warrior's gonna be doing anything. He could play a Tempo BGH, but doesn't really seem necessary.
Yeah, well, the BGH doesn't have too many targets against Priest, but you might as well just hold on to it because it's not like you're trying to rush down the Priest or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, you might as well save it just in case. I feel like, and like you're not gonna finish him off very quickly. So, and he already has a War Axe in play and a Death Spite in his hand. So plenty of ways to deal with minions.
And we see that the Priest now has Justicar in their hand. Of course, the Priest's upgraded hero power isn't as effective as the Warrior's hero power because you can't overheal as a Priest, not like the Warrior.
Yeah.
I wonder if the Priest is going to play the Acolyte Pain ever in this game because in this matchup you kind of don't want to draw too many cards because it's most likely going towards fatigue. So having drawn an extra card over your opponent actually makes a big deal sometimes.
Right. Nerebar Weblord, or Jeweled Scarab. I don't know why I was talking about Nerebar Weblord, but Jeweled Scarab is a card that draws without actually drawing from the deck, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah, I think it's especially better in this kind of matchup because you're not drawing extra cards like the Acolyte Pain, so drawing the extra cards that's not from your deck is going to help you in the fatigue matchup. He chooses to pick Charge over, I would think, the Scarlet Crusader. Maybe he's looking for that surprise charge damage later in the game.
That is interesting. I mean, Scarlet Crusader looked pretty great to me out of those options.
Yeah, especially as a Priest's hero power doesn't really have a good way of popping the Divine Shield.
Yep. Maybe he is concerned about something like Wild Pyromancer, but even then, to deal with the Scarlet Crusader, the Priest would have to use a couple of cards to be able to take out the Divine Shield and then deal the 1 damage to the Crusader itself.
Yeah. So it would have been really hard for the Priest to deal with. However, this charge might come in handy later in the game if he wants to deal with something right away. This turn's a little bit awkward. He probably wants to kind of deal with his Elite Starseeker before he could get value off of it by constantly healing it and trading. But to do so, he would have to equip the Death Bite, which means he's wasting 1 charge off his Fiery War Axe and he's playing off curve. So he decides to just play the Sludge Belcher here. And what do you think about that?
I mean, I like this play. I like going for maximum value out of both weapons. Your Sludge Belcher loses a little bit of value, probably, but it seems fine to me. It uses your mana better as well.
We see 2 Acolyte Pains from the Priest, so the problem with this is that if he doesn't want to ever draw with them, he's going to have to keep them in his hand, so they're just sitting as 2 dead cards in his hand. Potentially it's going to turn into legendaries later in the game, but sometimes it gets to that point of the game where each person is just passing their turn, and then once your hand starts to fill up you have to play something eventually. So if it gets to the point where he has to drop both Acolytes of Pain, the Warrior has ways of just making the Priest draw multiple cards off of it, and that could definitely hurt the Priest a lot.
Yeah. That would definitely be a big problem, and I guess I kind of want to take back what I said here. I mean, I forgot about Velen's Chosen, even though it was in Not a Rapper's hand, and Velen's Chosen was a pretty good way of punishing the Belcher. I mean, granted, he can execute it, which is decent, but then he's not going to be doing anything else with his turn.
Yeah.
So maybe it might have been better to go with the Death Spite, but it's still a difficult call.
I mean, I think the execute here was actually pretty efficient because even though he did lose 1/2 of the Belcher, he was able to clear the Elise, which is essentially 2 cards because it's the Elise and the Velens with that 1 execute.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad execute. There's not too many targets that you would want to execute from the priest anyways. Things you would want to execute are Velen's targets or maybe Death Lords. But then, how early do you want to kill Death Lords, right? Because you're going to be pulling cards out of your deck.
Yeah. So it's still a 2 for 2, and I guess, yeah, that's true. It does kind of end up in Waxwing Slane's favor as the warrior.
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't able to play his 6-drop this turn, but he has a lot of time in this game, for sure. We're only on turn 6.
Yeah. Yep, no
This game
rush
isn't
here.
going anywhere.
Non-Rapper gonna play his Justicar Trueheart. Get his hero power ready to go. I don't know if this is gonna accomplish very much for him, but I mean, considering the rest of his hand, he doesn't have a whole lot else he wants to do, so seems like a fine play to just go with here. And Waxwing Slane opting to play a Shield Maiden before the Justicar. I think this makes sense, because he can't Hero Power this turn anyway. Next turn he can play the Justicar and Hero Power if he wants.
Yeah.
Or he could wait until maybe the board gets cleaned up a little bit, and then he can get the double Hero Power Justicar turn on turn 10.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing. I think the Shield Maiden before Justicar is fine, mainly for the reason that he couldn't Hero Power this turn. So it
Yep.
doesn't really make too big of a difference because next turn he could just go Justicar Hero Power. I would definitely prefer playing Justicar on turn 8 over the second Shield Maiden and Hero Power though, just because you're going to be gaining more armor over the time.
Yeah, and Shield Maiden is just a better threat than Justicar Trueheart, so you don't want both your Shield Maidens to die to something like a Light Bomb.
Yeah.
I'm not even 100% sure that he will play something, because if this Shield Maiden survives a turn, Priest these days is definitely a deck where you don't want to put too many threats in play against them, or else they can just kill them all at once with Light Bomb or Akanai Circle or something like that. But it does look like Non-Rapper is considering the Entomb here. He's running out of time. He's going to be pressured into that decision, which, I mean...
I think this is fine. A lot of control warriors these days don't run the big threats anymore. They just top off at like their turn 6 minions, and then they try to go for the Elise if they're doing
Yeah.
that. So Entombing the Shield Maiden was probably one of the biggest minions that the control warrior has in their deck right now.
Plus, this matchup does go to Fatigue a lot of the time, but if you leave something like that in play for a couple of turns, that'll do some damage. It'll add up pretty quickly, and he could potentially get in a bad situation versus potentially a Growmash. And something interesting here, Waxwing Slane drew a Doomsayer this turn. That is a tech card, I guess, for the aggro decks that have been popping up
Yeah,
a lot. I mean,
yeah, it's definitely more for the aggro decks. Of course, you would just play it after something like a Brawl or really early in the game when the options to try to remove it is really limited. I have seen some players bring it into their control warrior decks, like Fibonacci, I think, was famous for bringing it in his deck that he used to qualify in the NA prelims.
yep. Sounds accurate to me. Non-Rapper going for a little bit of Pyromancer action. If he uses a coin, his Pyromancer is going to die. I mean, he draws a card. Alright, bye-bye Pyromancer. Your job is done. He does get the full clear off of this and the extra draw of Acolyte, but how far do you want to go with these draws?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing he wanted to do was try to clear off the Justicar and take less damage. I'm not too sure why he wanted to heal up his Acolyte over just healing himself, because I don't know unless he's going to try to draw more cards and just try to outpace the warrior now. That could
Yeah.
also be a way to win.
Another thing I was just thinking about is maybe he does just want to spam draws and get to the Golden Monkey as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
That way he can just play infinite legendaries against Warrior, who's got to run out of removal at some point. You know, like, they've got a lot of removal, but runs out eventually. And the Deathbite going to be put into play now. Take out the Acolyte of Pain, which will draw a Northshire Cleric. Tank up to finish off the turn here. Don't think he's going to do anything else. Yep. Excavated Evil, not really a good card in this matchup.
Yeah, I don't think he even wants to play it to give the warrior an extra card in their deck. He'd probably just save it until he could turn it into a legendary.
Yep.
It's kind of interesting that both players have brought really anti-aggro decks in the first game. And then they end up in this control matchup.
Yeah, it's definitely awkward. I mean, you're going into game one. Most people lead off with something aggressive or druid. But when both players anticipate that, and then they both bring like these control decks to counter that, it puts them in a weird situation. We've got this really drawn out game now, where neither player was really expecting to go into a control versus control matchup, but here we are. And yeah, not entirely sure how this one's gonna go yet. It's really hard to tell right now who's favored. I mean, the priest is ahead with the Elise, I think, just being able to draw into that golden monkey potentially pretty soon. But maybe Waxwing Slain has some surprises here in his control warrior deck.
Yeah, but anything is possible, especially with these builds being really flexible at the moment. If this is more Fibonacci's exact list with the Doomsayers and the Scarabs, then I don't think there's a Elise Starseeker in it, which might put the Priest slightly ahead. But again, he might have just changed it up a little bit and put the Elise in his deck. But we're going to have to see.
Yeah, it might just be a preference thing. I mean, maybe people copy a deck for the most part, but they don't want it to be the exact same, or maybe they just feel like something should be changed depending on what the meta is like. I mean, I know Fibonacci himself has said that he changes his deck like every day because the meta is changing a lot, so he never has like a set deck.
Yeah, and I feel like that's how you want to stay ahead of the meta curve. If you want to
Right.
try to get the top ranks, you just have to keep adapting your deck to what you're seeing.
Right. Arcanized Soul Priest. Gonna get some value off of this upgraded heal, which is still just called heal. Take out the Doomsayer pretty easily.
Yeah, so now the
Yes.
warrior, I think the warrior is able to clear most of the things here, if he wanted to.
Yeah.
He would have to use like his bashes and his sheer slimes though. So I'm not sure if he's really down to clearing off these minions because he's gaining 4 life every turn. I would think that he would probably want to try to clear off this Arcanine so that the heal is not hitting him for 4 every turn.
Mhm.
But his options are kind
maybe-
of limited. He only has a lot of single target spells in his hand at the moment.
Yeah, maybe he could Shield Slam or Double Bash. The Jeweled Scarab is gonna pick up a shield block, which we haven't seen any so far yet, have we? We haven't seen any.
Yeah, he hasn't played a shield block yet from his deck.
Ooh, the Golden Monkey.
Is it time?
He's found it. Now the rapper has gone on his quest. He got the map, and now he's arrived at the Golden Monkey.
I think
Does
this is a
he-
good time to play it because in his deck he has 14 cards plus a 5 card hand minus the monkey, so he has about 19 legendaries that he'll get from it.
Yeah, and he's got the board presence. I mean, he's got the advantage right now. Seems like a fine time to me.
And what we're seeing is that the warrior doesn't have his brawl yet, so even when this monkey comes down, it's going to be a pretty threatening board.
Oh yeah, and even if he did have his brawl, there's a lot of cheap legendaries you can get off the Golden Monkey to just refill the board next turn. But another thing is, I just want to see what he gets off of the Golden Monkey. I want to see what kind of
I
cards.
think
he
what the
draws
best
into.
thing is that it's a golden monkey, so it doesn't just make all the cards golden.
I think it does, and wow. I mean,
Oh,
what
yeah.
else can you say besides
shiny
like,
hand.
oh my goodness. Yeah, Lorewalker Cho is actually insane to get off of Golden Monkey because it fills your deck with minions, and Acolyte of Pain is also crazy to have in play. Like, this is such good synergy he has right now for his Golden Monkey. Like, it makes it difficult for his opponent to play spells, and the Acolyte of Pain is just going to draw into more legendaries, so...
He's going to have to give that Lorewalker Cho at least a bash, which is going to be pretty useful for the priest as well.
Yep.
But even if he could kill off his Cho, he still has his golden monkey that he has to deal with. He still has the Arcanine on the board. And with his draw with that Grommash, it doesn't really do that much right now.
Yeah, a Ysera in hand too. I mean, that's one of the cards that you love to have in a control matchup.
Oh yeah.
Anyways,
the quality of the Priestess legendaries in his hand right now are super good. The Ysera, the Ronin, Mal'Ganis, Grommash. Those are all really good legendaries. Even the King Mukla could possibly make the warrior burn some cards in his hand if you can't drop enough.
Yeah, it's so awkward now for Waxwing Slane. I mean, it makes sense to me. Like, I think this matchup should go this way, especially with Not a Rapper has an Elise, and Waxwing can't really get any high value legendaries in play early. And speaking of high value legendaries.
That's
a Tyrion Bordering, yeah.
Normally when you see people play the Golden Monkey, you see you would see a bunch of bad legendaries, things like Gazlo, doesn't do much, Napago, but the Priest, Not a Raptor, is getting all the high quality legendaries, even a Lothab is really good.
Yeah, it's just brutal. I mean, I guess Waxwing Slane is just hoping he didn't get anything good, but little does he know, he's got like 3 of the best legendaries in like Tyrion, Ysera, and Lothab for control matchups, plus like Ronin, Mal'Ganis to top it off, Grommash for burst. He could potentially play his Grommash and heal it to get 10 damage.
Oh yeah. Decides to go for a Lothab here.
He might just go for lethal. He could play King Mukla, but yeah, he's got to respect the brawl, I guess.
Yeah, I think as the Priest, once you have this board and you don't see a brawl come out this turn, would you start going in, or would you just keep this board? I think I would personally just keep this board in case of any kind of top decks. And this is a lot of pressure already.
Depending on what you draw, too. Like, he has so many resources left over that even if there is a brawl, they'll still have plenty of ways to refill.
Oh yeah, for sure. And this Grommash has to be used to kill the Golden Monkey, and now it's just going to die from the Arcanine hero power. Which is unfortunate.
So strong. I mean, if anything, I think you just play the Tyrion here, because that's decent against Brawl, because you at least get an Ashbringer.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to keep pressuring. Even though you have plenty of legendaries, I think the best way to press your lead right now is just to play something that gives you some value back, even if it does die. So either the Ronin or the Tyrion, but I think the Tyrion's a little better. Maybe you could get punished by like Brawl Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we'll see what he decides to do here. Could just go with the Gazlo. Yeah.
I think actually he could have played the Ronin first, because he would have got the Arcane Missiles and get more mechs off the Gazlo.
Yeah, that's true. That actually is some really good synergy. Or just the straight burn damage off the Ronin.
Yeah,
set up
3
for
Arcane
lethal as well.
Missiles with no minion on the board would be 9 damage.
And Waxwing Slane just looking for any way to recover. Sylvanas is good. It's probably one of the best cards he could put into play off of Deathlord.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is going to be good enough. I mean, worst case scenario, this is just going to steal a Lorewalker Cho. And still, it'll be just as bad for Waxwing, like, because his opponent will still get cards. It doesn't really matter who controls the Lorewalker.
Yep, no matter what. It's just going to give everyone spells. Gruul. Gruul
More
is a pretty
8-mana
decent
legendaries.
Yep. That's all the Priest really wants right now, to be honest. Because the Priest is perfectly fine just playing a 8-drop while hero power in return.
Yeah, for sure. I think Not a Rapper is just deciding what's the safest way to play this game.
Mm-hmm.
How do I 100% win, not leave any space for Waxwing to come back? And Waxwing, unless he has something ridiculous in his deck that I can't think of right now. I mean, maybe he has a Deathwing in here somewhere, but is Deathwing even going to be good enough? Like, we're just going to see a trade from Sylvanas, steals the Gazlo, and Alkani's going to clear that up.
I think
I'll bring over the Tyrion.
The Gazlo and the Lorewalker were both good because the Arcanine could trade into it and not die.
Yeah. I think this is actually a big mistake to play Gruul instead of Tyrion because now Waxwing gets to kill off the Lorewalker and the Akanai. When with Tyrion in play, he would have at least had the Divine Shield taunt to get through first, and to do that, Waxwing would have to use spells. I mean,
Yeah, and then he loses some tempo because of the BGH, which he probably should imagine that the warrior has at least one BGH in their deck.
yep. This is still looking good for Not a Rapper, but I think that is a pretty big misplay. Looking at the Grommash here to kill something off, get it in rage. He can heal himself up as well.
Yep. He
And,
can even re-heal the Grommash to just make it a little bit annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So now for the warrior, he does have a shield slam, so he could perfectly just remove this Grommash, move along with his day. Yeah, like you were saying earlier, I think I would have liked to seen the Tyrion come out either the turn before or last turn, because it's just a bit harder for the warrior to deal with. And then once it does die, you have that Ashbringer, which could keep you the tempo as you bring down more big legendaries.
Yeah, I feel like the things that Not a Rapper is concerned about here, he's probably thinking about Shield Sams, which is why he's not playing the Ysera, and he's probably thinking about Harrison, which is why he's not playing the Tyrion. But I still think it was worth it to play the Tyrion, even if there was a Harrison, just because, you get so much pressure, and your opponent would have had to play multiple spells to be able to get through it, so you would have gotten those spells yourself, and stuff like that. But
Yeah, especially when it was able to protect the lower rock control.
things are still looking good for him. I mean, Waxwing Slaying has still got his back against the wall with all these legendaries coming at him.
Yeah, and it looked like that the warrior and the priest both had similar amount of cards in their hand, but if you look at what actual cards the warrior has, it's mainly just spells that don't really do that much. Revenge isn't going to be doing anything. Bash does a little bit. Charge doesn't do too much. Acolyte Pain doesn't do too much.
Oh,
And
man.
Baron Geddon doesn't kill anything that the priest is going to be playing.
Yeah, Confessor Palatrus picked up now. Jeez.
Just all the legendaries coming down.
Yeah, a lot of these are just really strong. Beast, Mukla, not the best. Justicar, Trueheart number 2, not the best. But now he's going to throw out this Tyrion.
Actually, what he could do is when he plays a Paletrus, if the Paletrus is able to live one turn, he could use the hero power on his next turn, then play Justicar and hero power again, I believe.
That would be really ridiculous, yeah.
If it works that way, I'm not sure if it's replacing the upgraded hero power actually resets it or not, because I haven't had the chance to play 2 Justicars in one game.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that either. But I like this sequencing though. I like starting with the Tyrion and then going into the Palatrus or the Ysera, even if there's a Harrison, like I said. I mean, you're getting to the point of fatigue anyways, and like, what's the warrior gonna do with 3 extra cards? Like,
Yeah.
how is he ever gonna get through these legendaries?
Yep, I too like bringing out the Ashbringer. Lets him kill off the Sludge Butcher while he's playing his Paletrus.
You might as well arcane after the Palatrus summon something as well. Maybe summon something with spell damage.
Yeah,
Oh
maybe
man.
oh, he could actually make the warrior skip his turn, right? If he had enough mana, he could just or next turn if he doubles arcane missiles, play a legendary, he could possibly skip the warrior's turn.
Does it cancel the turn like that?
I remember there was a bug for Nozdormu where it was like using Joust or
Yeah, I
it was
remember
with Joust.
using 2 jousts in one turn. You could skip someone's turn.
Oh, and he's unable to use the shield slam because of the time.
Yeah, this is just one of the weird things with Nozdormu. I don't think it's actually accurate about it being 15 seconds. I mean, I understand why that card would be like really difficult to make consistent.
Oh, there is
Oh,
at
but
least Star
please.
Seeker.
Might be too little too late though.
All these animations are making my spectator mode a bit buggy.
Yeah, this is really intense right now. Eknaros picked up.
I mean, like, at first we were like, oh yeah, this is becoming more of a resident sleeper because control versus control, but everything's going so fast now.
Yeah, Nosdormu made this game a lot more exciting. And guess he just played the arcane missiles there, so he wouldn't overdraw, but I don't think his hand was full anyway. I'm not sure what's going on now, but both players are probably on autopilot mode at this point. Oh, I don't think he had enough time to play anything. Oh no.
Oh yeah, it actually skipped his turn.
Yeah, I don't think it would have mattered, but
Well, he did draw into his golden monkey, but
I mean, if the golden monkey drew Deathwing, it actually might have mattered.
yeah, in this game, it looked like it was going to go on for fatigue, but we're not even hitting fatigue. It's just going to end next turn, I think.
Thanks to Golden Monkey and Nosdormu. And yeah, that's gonna be the concession from Waxwing Slane. I mean, that game did start off really slow, like we said, but it got exciting towards the end. I like that, but yeah, it's gonna be
Yeah, man, that was some good Hearthstone.
an interesting game. Yeah, Golden Monkey, man, it makes these long mirrors more exciting.
So that was the New York that took that win, I believe, right?
Yeah. Yep, taking a 1-0 lead over MIT. Not a bad start to this series. I mean, these guys looking to get to playoffs. Would definitely be happy with a few wins in a row. I mean, of course, when you're trying to get into playoffs. But,
yeah, definitely for sure, especially with both teams on the very edge. So they really need this win to make it into the playoffs.
Alright, and it looks like our players have jumped into game 2. Excited to get this match rolling. Keep it rolling, I mean.
Yep, joining in right now. So we have Fro116 versus Ornirok. And we got the Priest versus Druid. Which class do you think is favored in this matchup?
I think, in general, these days, I feel like it does favor the Druid. I feel like there's a good amount of time where the Priest was favored, but I mean, I think it's another matchup where it depends a lot on the list. And of course, with any game with Druid, the opening draws of Wild Growth and Innervate can make a big difference in this matchup.
Yeah, in my experience, I feel like I actually think the Priest is slightly favored, depending if the Druid has like a really strong mana growth turn, because the Priest could get, once the Priest gets Temple with things like Valen's Chosen, it's really hard for the Druid to come back once the Priest gets the board, especially because Priest minions are really healthy.
Yeah.
And then once the Priest has a board established, the Druid tries to play a couple minions, but just gets taken away by things like Entomb.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, if the Priest can get a board together and, you know, like just have a couple of decent sized minions, then yeah, it's really hard for the Druid to come back because Priest can just keep healing up. But we see a really good start here from Ornirok. Coin Wild Growth into a turn 2 Shade followed by a Keeper. Looks decent.
Yeah, the Keeper, I'm not too sure if he's going to hold on to the Keeper and wait for the Valens to come out. But if he doesn't have any other play, he might probably just play on turn 4. But we'll see, because the Priest has the options of going for the Dark Cultist this turn, and then if the Druid could deal with it, he could just silence it off.
Right. Yeah.
What's going to be funny is if the Druid's able to use that MC Tech against the Priest, because normally the Priest doesn't have too many minions on their board.
Yeah, I think it's actually a good time to go for it here. I don't really want to innovate out Force of Nature, like just hero powering face and then getting mind control tech value next turn looks like a very real option.
Yeah, and it looks like that's what the Ornirok agrees with you.
And it's not something you're really going to play around, I think, as the Priest player. It's like, oh man, this Druid just has an awkward draw, skips his turn 4. But okay, maybe he is going to play around it. Let's see if he plays that Northshire. I don't think he will, though.
Yeah, normally you won't want to play Northshire Cleric unless you're drawing cards on that same turn, just to guarantee the value.
Yeah, so I think this is pretty clutch from Fro. He's not falling into his opponent's trap. I mean, there is a Keeper from Ornirok, but it's not too big of a deal. Like, I don't think that's as bad as getting something stolen by mind control tech. If it stole the museum curator, obviously that would be like that would not be very good. But
So the priest has, I mean, the druid has a chance to completely shut down this Chow. If he trades the shade into the Dark Cultist and then busts the Chow, and then he could just silence it off after that. That's going to be a really good value on that silence.
yeah, that would be strong for sure. If it goes on to the museum curator, though, you have your 4/1 shade matched up against a 1/5, so that would be pretty awkward.
Yeah. He might just go for an innervate ancient lore.
Yeah, I think that's also a potentially decent option.
Goes for the silence. I don't mind this. I mean, all the Valence did was doing 2 extra damage, so the silence is already pretty good value.
Yeah, it also makes Zombie Chow a better card because you're not going to get that heal later on, but it removes the potential for a burst, I guess, with Akanai.
Yeah, and we do see that the priest does have the Arcanine in the hand, so that would have been if he didn't silence the Chow, it would have been 6-11 damage.
Yeah.
Which is a lot for the druid, especially this early in the game.
Yeah, and with something like Flash Heal as well, if Fro had it in his hand, he could have been really close to lethal there, but... Alright, picks up the second Entomb off the top after drawing with the Northshire. Savage Roar now. I mean, Innervate combo is cool, but he doesn't really have the damage to back it up. Mind Control Tech does look really good this turn. I mean, it's definitely the type of card where you can get the value, you want to get it. It's not something you want to skip out on, but...
Yeah, and he gets the
Wow.
Northshire Cleric. That's probably... I would think it's the second best of the 4.
I agree, yeah. Yeah, second best after that Dark Cultist.
Now does he want to reveal the shade this turn and just kill the Dark Cultist? If he does that, he does open it up from dying to a Holy Nova, but if he just leaves it stealth, it could die to a Light Bomb as well. So he
Yeah.
might be thinking if he wants to just cash in some value right now. Because even if he does put his shade into Holy Nova range, he still has 2 minions there at 3 health.
Yeah, I think this trade definitely makes sense. Especially with him already being at like almost half health. Just killing off that Dark Cultist, playing around Light Bomb, I think is really good here. Even though Fro doesn't have it, most priests play 2 Light Bomb. So,
Yeah, especially in this kind of control priest list.
Yep.
He does. The priest does have the clear now with Arcanine Circle Field, if he wants to do that. Other than that, he doesn't really have a good way of clearing up this board. Or decides to just heal and pass, trying to get more value off this Arcanine.
Wow.
Was
That
just
seemed
lethal?
really dangerous. Yeah, I think this could be. That's 14 plus 8 off the shade. So that's plus 5.
Yeah, I think that's
plus
exactly
30.
30, right?
I think it might be. Wow.
My guess is exactly 30. I can't do the
Man,
math.
he
too
didn't Akanai Circle. I'm kind of surprised. Like, you have a 1/5 Curator who doesn't die anyway. You could just clear the board. I mean, you don't expect to die to Innervate combo, but regardless, you don't want to take that damage. You want to kill off a shade. Wow. I mean, that's got to feel bad as Fro. Like, he was just looking to get more value out of his Akanai Circle, I think. You know, he's
Yeah.
expecting an Ancient of Lore or some other thing to fill in the turn, but just gets killed. I mean, Druid stuff right there. He had Wild Growth and an Innervate and the combo to finish it off. That's one of the cleanest games you can have with Druid. Wild Growth early on, Innervate combo to kill them on turn 7, or turn 6 actually, because he had Wild Growth.
Yeah,
Wow, and that's a
especially
quick 2-0
because
lead.
Not clearing the board, he still would have been taking 10 damage from the board. So that's pretty scary as well, because even if he just plays a minion on that turn as a druid, you're spending your entire turn clearing that board after, so you're still in a pretty scary range from combo.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like we were saying, that's definitely not something that you expect, but it's still something you should kind of consider, like as an outside possibility. I think.
Yeah, but we can't fault him too much for trying to be a little bit
Yeah.
greedy on his board removal, because in the rest of his hand he didn't have too much stuff going on. So I'm guessing he was really hoping for a really big clear and get the temple, and then just come back and keep the game going longer with the entombs.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think there's a reasonable line of play to not Akanai Circle. It just so happened that that Ornarok had the combo. So pretty brutal game there, and MIT might be feeling discouraged now, as that is, that 2-0 lead after that kind of a game where you just get comboed out like that.
Yep. So we're going to have to see what the next matchup, what they're going to bring next. What do you think New York is going to bring at a 2-0 lead?
Yeah, Well, we've seen their priest and their druid now. Seeker Paladin's still up. Shaman's still up. Like we've discussed before, it's a best of 5 format. Once a class is played by your school, whether or not you win or lose, you can no longer play that class. So those 2 classes are out of the way now for New York, but
Yeah,
I think something aggressive.
Yeah, something aggressive. Like, I was thinking maybe they could go for a Zulok. Might be
Yeah,
good.
we've
Now that
seen-
Priest is gone.
We've seen Warrior and Priest from MIT, right? So, yeah. I mean, I would expect MIT to bring Druid this next game, or Secret Paladin, 2 of the next best decks.
Yep, and we are getting into a game. We got Paladin from Akiba Tech from MIT versus Thunderhorn's Warlock from New York. And it is going to be a Secret Paladin from... Or actually, it might not be Secret Paladin, because nothing we see is out of the ordinary from something like a mid-range Paladin.
Yeah.
Muster for Battle, Sludge Belcher, and Dr. Boom.
And I mean, this is somewhat along the lines of what I expected, like just an aggressive deck here from Violet Teachers, and then either Druid or Secret Paladin from MIT. Because MIT, they're just looking to get back in this. So, I mean, just playing a strong deck looks good, and it does seem like Secret Paladin, I guess, with Sir Finley.
It could also just be like a straight up aggro Paladin without the secrets.
Yeah. I mean,
Playing
he had like Sludge Belcher and Dr. Boom.
That's true. It's a
It could still be something along those lines, though. We don't, like, when we see a secret, we'll know, or if we don't see a secret, we'll know. But the turn 1 Sir Finley.
I have these hero powers. I'm going to have to like the Fire Blast, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because the armor up and the healing is like really passive, especially if you're expecting something from a zoo when you want to be fighting for board as well. And the Mage Hero power does the best for fighting for board out of those 3.
Yeah. And normally, Coin Haunted Creeper and a Knife Juggler seems like a really good play from Zoo, but against Paladin, a lot of the time it doesn't get much done, especially with the turn 1 Sir Finley, because they can just play a shielded mini-bot into that. Or as we see here, Akiba Tech has a Haunted Creeper. I mean, best case scenario, they just play their own Knife Juggler into it, but usually when you see Coin Haunted Creeper, you don't really play into that.
Yeah, they could also consider holding onto the coin for next turn and maybe coining out the Imp Gang boss, because Imp Gang boss does quite a bit of work against Paladins usually.
Yep. I mean, you know what? Actually, he might be thinking about just playing the Knife Juggler, because if Akiba Tech spends his whole next turn using his hero power, then Thunderhorn is going to get the initiative. He could go Haunted Creeper into Imp Gang boss, and he'll be the one, making the plays.
Yeah, I
First.
actually think that would be a pretty good play. Gaining initiative in board center decks in those kind of mirror matches are like really important. But he goes for the Haunted Creeper instead. Maybe he's hoping that he could trade the Haunted Creeper in while playing the Knife Juggler to get those extra daggers in.
Yep, I think he could just be looking to prevent Akiba Tech's Knife Juggler, or, if he does end up playing the Knife Juggler, just kill it off. But if we don't see that,
And he does trade into the Haunted Creeper, so now he could play the Knife Juggler and get 2 extra knives in by trading into the Finley. Possibly snipe it down.
Yeah, Iron Beak Owl I think is also a valid consideration here. There's stuff like Blessing of Kings later on, or like Shielded Minibot or something, which you might want to silence instead, but maybe if he wants to get a little bit more value out of the Knife Juggler, he could save it. It's just which one do you want to get more value out of, or which one do you think has a higher chance to get more value later on?
Especially, I do think the owl is a bit better later because it's going to be able to deal with avenge targets if it's secrets.
Yeah.
The Blessing of Kings, Tyrion. But if
Yeah,
he
so-
really thinks that this Iron Beak Owl is going to give him a lot more tempo, then I could justify that as well.
Yeah. I guess at the end of the day, I would like to see the Knife Juggler play and then Haunted Creeper trade into Sir Finley, but Iron Beak Owl on Haunted Creeper, can't really fault him for this play. Muster for Battle, though, is pretty good against that 1 health Iron Beak Owl. And looks like Thunderhorn's just going to simplify this, play around the potential Knife Juggler, which he's probably got a read on him at this point. Akiba Tech probably realizes, hey, it took him a long time to decide what his turn 2 was. There's a really good chance he has a Knife Juggler in his hand.
Yeah, I like this play from Akiba Tech because this puts him in a better spot later in the turns where the Warlock might want to go for the Knife Jugglers, or they might want to play Argus. So it's just a lot better to deal with it on his turn than his opponent's.
Yeah, and wow, this is interesting. If Akiba Tech doesn't kill the Imp King boss, alright, he does, but 2 Knife Jugglers next turn could have been a big problem
Yeah,
for Akiba Tech. Could have shredded his board.
Akiba Tech going really safe here, just trying to keep the Warlock's board clean to prevent
Yeah.
any kind of buffs to it that could trade up. for the
Yeah, I
Knife
really like
Jugglers.
this. I like this when you're ahead in this kind of a matchup. You just want to keep your board simple, or your opponent's board simple. Play around any of those scary possibilities that they might have, and just try to keep the initiative on your side. You know, you don't want to give that back to your opponent at any point this game.
And we do see the Secret Keeper from Akiba Tech, so this does confirm that he is playing a Secret Paladin.
Yep, our first hint there is, I mean, a lot of these cards are played in Secret Paladin decks, but if you don't see the secrets, then it's not really telling us much. Thunderhorn deciding on his turn 4 now. He could go with the double Knife Juggler, or he could go single Knife Juggler with Voidwalker, but there's also a decent amount of reasons to tap. I think double Knife Juggler looks the best to me, though.
Yeah, I
Just-
think the double Knife Juggler fights a bit better on the board. Oh, that is a really good juggle though.
Yeah, that was great. The reason why I like the double Knife Juggler is because it uses your mana. It uses all of your mana efficiently, and you're looking at the Sea Giant in your hand. You want to get to that really soon because that is a very powerful card in this matchup. And Knife Jugglers are just your best threats at this point, and when you're behind, I think you just want to put your 2 best threats onto the board.
Yeah, and force the Paladin to keep trading, and hopefully you could outvalue them later on when you could start life tapping, while the Paladin has no way of card draw.
Yeah, the Paladin is definitely looking to win the short game here, I think. I mean, I guess both decks are looking to win the short game. Both of them have pretty strong late games, depending on what they have. Like, Paladin's got the Tyrion, sometimes has the Ragnaros, sometimes the Dr. Boom. Zoo's got the card draw forever. And, you know, Doomguard's maybe a Dr. Boom of his own is in here somewhere.
And this Implosion is a pretty good pickup for the Warlock, especially because he kept one of the Knife Jugglers in hand last turn. So now he could go... Oh no, he can't. He's only at 5 mana.
Yeah, he's just a mana short, but Implosion still looks great here, as long as it cooperates. Kills off the
Perfect 3.
Keeper.
Ooh, that's a good
Ooh.
one.
Yeah, I
think
mean, I like the Consecration as well. Consecration and Shielded Minibot.
Yeah, the Consecrate Shield Minibot plays well in the curve, but you can also just play the Sludge Belcher and kill off a couple of these 1/1s. But if he wants to kill off the 1/1s, he probably wants to kill all of them to play around the Power Overwhelming. But if he uses the Consecrate now, he probably doesn't have any more AoE. So it looks like he's just going for the trades. Not even
Yeah,
playing
this
the
also
Belcher.
works out nicely. Yep.
Oh yeah, Got the hero power.
This way he gets to push the 4 damage and keep his Paladin Shredder a little healthy. I like this. Yeah, save Consecration for like the Nightmare, Knife Juggler, Implosion possibility this turn. Yeah, and Thunderhorn just looking for any way possible to get onto the board, and also hoping he can get a Sea Giant out. Which, there's a decent chance he could this next turn. I guess Akiba Tech will probably clear Thunderhorn's board.
Yeah, this Shield mini bot going into Knife Juggler is just so tasty. And he gets to develop the Belcher and clean up everything.
Yep, the hero power as well looks great, and the tides have turned now. MIT taking the reins in this 3rd game.
Yep.
Even with the Sea Giant coming down, the Paladin is so far ahead on board that he could just start ignoring it now and just start hitting the face.
Yep, he's pretty far ahead, and I don't know if there's going to be any coming back, especially with this redemption picked up for the Sludge Belcher, which will probably be killed off.
Yeah, this will slow down the Zoo quite a bit if he's wanting to get back onto the board. Just the Belcher game redemption in itself will be 4 taunts. So
Yep.
the Paladin could just sit back and keep going face with everything else while the Belcher protects his board. Because Zoo tends to not have any kind of board AoE, so it's going to be hard for him to clear everything else.
Yeah, and this is going to be Akiba Tech setting up for lethal this next turn. Does Thunderhorn have a miracle draw? Not sure what it could be. Haunted Creeper doesn't look like it. Maybe he's going to tap. What if he had like a heal bot in his deck?
He could go for the Brand, and Argus gets the double buff on the Argus. So he's going to have a 10-10 taunt and a 4-6 taunt. He could probably just sit on that and make the Paladin trade everything into that.
Yep, it does seem like his best option here.
I probably wouldn't even attack just to play around all the secrets, like Avenge, Noble Sacrifice are all things you don't want to attack into. So just playing this and passing, which he does, I like.
Yep, he's just hoping Akiba Tech won't be able to break through before he can get his board back together. But man, Akiba Tech, it's looking good for him. Another Paladin Shredder is not a bad pickup. He's got Consecration waiting as well when he decides to use it. In fact, now might be a good time just to...
Yeah, the Consecrate could help clear the board. He's going to have to trade in a lot of stuff still. But
yeah,
he does set up the Warlock to just die again next turn if he uses the Consecrate, trades in his Shredder and his Secret Keeper.
Yeah, killing off the Brand I think does make sense.
Checks to see what he got off the Shredder first. Might have got like a Flame Tongue Totem.
I guess I'd like to see him keep the Sludge Belcher alive here. I don't think he has to make any other trades because you want that to get redemption. I mean, just to be sure. Just to be sure you're good. Yep.
I mean, I think he could have used the trade because he could have Belchered with 2 Secret Keepers and Hero Power to ping off the Sea Giant, then push 2 damage to his face with the Shield Minibot still, and then he would have made the Warlock unable to life tap after that.
Yeah, that's true. That probably is better. Although either way, I guess I can't really think of any way Thunderhorn could come back at this point.
Yep, so he is going to life tap, see if he has any other option. Peddler, could he get anything off that?
You can make a really, really big Sea Giant with 2 Power Overwhelmings.
For an Electrical Face. Even then it would be enough.
It could be an 18-16, but yeah, there's a taunt in the way too. Yep, I think we're just going through the motions here at this point. Thunderhorn will probably realize his death is imminent momentarily.
Yep, especially now he sees that redemption coming up, which redeems the Sludge Belcher.
Yep. True Silver champion being drawn. And, I mean, he had lethal anyway on board, so
Yeah.
MIT Could this be the start of a comeback? It's going to be 1-2 in favor of the New York University VOD teachers right now. Jumping into a game 4. We're going to have Nikith from MIT versus Eclipse 8800 from the Violet teachers.
So what do you think what would you like to see next coming from MIT trying to make a reverse sweep here?
I mean, they just used their Paladin, so they still have Druid left, don't they?
Yeah, they have Druid, Warlock, Shaman, Rogue, Hunter.
Alright, I mean, let's bring out the Druid, I think. You need a miracle to win this series, don't you? So, what better way to do it than with a Druid deck?
Yeah, I wouldn't
and then your
mind a
game
Druid.
5. Because, like, another thing is Druid, you probably feel fine playing into anything, but you can save game 5 for more of, like, a counter pick if you think you have a read on what your opponent's going to be playing. Especially at that point, with 4 games played, they'll have 4 classes down the drain, a lot less options for them to choose from.
Yeah, and New York just used their Warlock, which is probably one of the best decks against the Druid.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess Temple Mage and Secret Pally. They could possibly hold off the Druid for the last game just to see if New York brings out the Secret Pally now, and if they win with, I would say, like with Warlock Zoo, then the Druid has probably the best matchups in the last game. We can see the Warlock versus Mage coming out.
Okay. Probably not what you want to see as MIT. Yep, this is going to be Freeze Mage, the bane of many Warlock decks.
Yeah, definitely Freeze Mage has the upper hand in this matchup. But I have been noticing that Zoo is getting a little bit better against Freeze Mage, especially if they could get like a really fast, strong start before the Mage could do anything.
Yeah, I think that's super important. I think it's actually a place where you don't want the resilient minions. I mean, in a lot of other matchups you want the resilient minions early, but usually Freeze Mage doesn't clear the board until later on, and you're not really going to be trading with many things, so I just like seeing the aggro minions. Like with this choice here, Knife Juggler looks great to me just to push as much damage as possible.
Yeah.
This Nerubian Egg is going to be so slow if he plays it. I mean, he doesn't know which mage deck this is. Like, if this is Tempo Mage, you'd probably rather play the Nerubian Egg. But if it's Freeze, you just want the extra damage, you want the Knife Juggler. So, it's kind of a toss-up.
I think even if it is Temple Mage, you would still probably want to play the Knife Juggler, because he could just give the Temple Mage and the Nerubian Egg if it was a mirror entity, and they can't really do anything with it.
Yeah, but another thing I that he's probably thinking about is Frostbolt.
Yeah.
And Knife Juggler just turns out worse against Frostbolt there, because, I mean, he could... Eclipse could have Frostbolted the Voidwalker and killed off the Knife Juggler with the Mad Scientist.
Yeah, and we do see that the Freeze Mage did have the Frostbite and could have done so.
This works out really well, though.
Yep.
Yes, he drew the Voidwalker, and the knife does hit.
It's going to be pretty useful. See Novice Engineer come out. For the Freeze Mage, he's probably considering if he needs to use his Frostbolt to kill his Knife Juggler right now.
Yeah,
If he does, he can't play on curve. He'd like to play Acolyte, but it just dies to the Knife Juggler anyways. So maybe it is the right time to use the Frostbolt.
I don't really want to use the Frostbolt. I mean, as the mage in this situation, I think it's fine to just play Novice Engineer. You could play Acolyte of Pain too, but it'll probably just draw one card. I'd rather save that for later.
Yeah.
So
if he does play the Acolyte now, the Knife Juggler has to trade into the Acolyte. Then next turn he could play Novice Engineer and Ping. So I do think the Acolyte would be better.
yeah, I mean, another thing is I would like to see one of the draw cards there, because you could just get it into a Doomsayer over the next few turns. Like, that's what you're really looking for. I don't really think you're that concerned about the Knife Juggler damage at this point. I mean, it would have dealt a decent amount of damage, but you've got an Ice Barrier up, you've got your Frost Nova is already good to go. Like, all you need is the second part of the combo and Doomsayer. I mean, if you're gonna Frostbolt anything, Knife Juggler makes the most sense because it's probably the most damage that's gonna be brought out from the Warlock, but
Yeah.
if he doesn't draw a 2-drop here, this could be pretty bad for Eclipse. Yeah, now he's got like nothing to do with this mana.
Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit awkward for him now to deal with. Next turn, he probably wants to play the Acolyte Pain and ping it so he can draw an extra card. Hopefully looking for those Blizzards to follow up on turn 6 or his Doomsayer so he could combo it with his Frost Nova.
Right. I mean, I think he's still in an okay spot. He's not taking a whole lot of damage right now.
Yeah, especially because he got the Ice Barrier before the Ice Block. You do want to get those Ice Barriers out first because they're better
Yep.
in the early game to stall out time.
100%. Yeah.
Decides
Yeah.
to ping the 2-3, which makes sense. It sets up for Blizzard if he eventually draws into it.
Yeah, I think it's 99% of the time it's better to ping a minion here than it is to ping face because you're probably just going to have like Alexstrasza or you'll have enough burn anyways, but you just need to make sure these minions die at some point. So I like setting up for that.
This is a good trade with a Nerubian Egg, so that's at 2 HP, so if he has a Blizzard, a Nerubian pops out unfrozen.
Yeah, I agree. I usually don't like trading from the Zeus side in the matchup, but with the concern of something like Blizzard later on, I like getting the Nerubian Egg at 2 health. And I think Acolyte of Pain Hero Power does look like the best play here. You could Blizzard, but that's not really accomplishing anything. It's just gaining you life, and it doesn't use all of your mana. So yeah, I definitely like this play better.
Yeah, and he's only taking 7 damage this turn. He could definitely take it and just draw a couple extra cards as the Acolyte now.
Yeah, I think Pyroblast is probably the worst draw in his deck right now. That's pretty brutal.
Yeah, oftentimes you don't even need the Pyroblast to kill Warlocks.
Yeah. Acidic Swamp Ooze, an interesting tech card that Nicketh has in here. Decides to tap. Makes a lot of sense given his hand.
Yeah, I guess he wants to consider how much he wants to put onto the board now. I like to see the Haunted Creeper come out just because you expect a Blizzard next turn. You could also just go in and play your Acidic Swamp Ooze too, just so you could start up in your hand for the Doom Guard.
Now, I think the trade here actually does matter. I would have liked to see the Voidwalker trade with the Acolyte instead. Just because you don't want a minion at 1 health at like any point against Mage. So having the Argus at 1 health I think is a little bit of a liability. It's not that big of a deal. It's just like if the Mage does end up hero powering for some reason on this next turn, then you kind of missed out right there on some extra damage for like the next turn. But it's a very minor thing. Interesting that Nicketh chooses not to play anything. It makes sense. You don't want to play the Creeper because Imp Gang Boss is going to add another minion to the board, or maybe 2, like depending on how things go.
Yeah.
And Haunted Creeper adds 2. So duplicate Frost Novas without the Doomsayer, a little bit awkward now for Eclipse.
Yeah, he might just have to use one just to stall out a turn. He can use this turn to use the Frost Nova, play his Ice Barrier, and then next turn he does have the Flame Strike, so I wouldn't mind him using one of these Frost Novas right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely time to use a Frost Nova and throw out the Ice Bear as well. Might as well use all your mana. Hero powering doesn't accomplish that much. Yep, looks good to me. Although at this point I would say Eclipse is probably on the back foot.
Yeah, he does have the Alexstrasza in his hand, so he might be able to set it up. What he's missing is the Ice Block, though. Like, if he had the Ice Block already set up, I would think that he has a really good chance of winning, because next turn he's able to Flame Strike, turn 8 he could possibly stall out or do something, maybe just play even Antonidas. Then on turn 9 he could go for the Alexstrasza, and if he had his block set up, he'd be safe. And then he could set up 2 turns lethal after that with the Fireball and Pyroblast.
Yeah. I mean, Another thing is, Eclipse does have a lot of good draws, like a lot of good draws here. You know, like you said, Ice Block is good, Doomsayer is good. Um, Even some more burn spells could be good. Like he could just start burning his opponent out pretty soon. Like looking at his damage, he's got like 20 represented with the Pyroblast, the two Ice Lances, and the Fireball,
Yeah.
which you know, not quite enough, but still seems like a pretty good Flamestrike turn. It leaves a lot in play, but it deals with a lot. So
Yeah, it's what's going to come out at the end is probably it's just one imp is going to spawn from the imp gang boss because he has 6 minions on the board, so he doesn't have room for others, and then the one Nerubian. So he's going to be left with 5 damage on the board, which I think he's perfectly fine taking, knowing that he's at 23, plus the ice
yeah, with
barrier.
the nice bear, yeah, exactly. And I mean, one of the best ways for Zoo to win, one thing that Freeze Mage definitely hates is burst damage, which Nikith has Doomsayer, he has 2 Power Overwhelming, so he does have burst damage. But okay, Eclipse is going to go for a more exotic play, fill his opponent's board, and then Frost Nova. I don't think this is an efficient use of his cards, though.
Yeah, because next turn I'm not sure what he wants to do. Maybe he wants to Flame Strike and then use the Ice Lance on the Nerubian that gets spawned. Basically this turn just completely blocked off what the Warlock could do. But with that Frostball pickup, he might consider not using the Ice Lance, because he has a lot of burn now. With the 2 Ice Lance and Frostball, that's 11 plus Fireball is 17, and then with the Pyroblast is 27. So he doesn't even need to use the Alexstrasza to kill off this Warlock.
Yeah, if he had an Ice Block in play, he could just do the math right here, just, you know, look at how much damage his opponent has and be like, okay, do I survive till Pyroblast, which I think he probably would.
Yeah.
But with the barrier in play, it's risky. You can't really start that burn process, and I think he kind of just wasted a Frost Nova here because he would have been in like the same situation anyway last turn, just with an extra imp in play. But now he's down a Frost Nova.
Yeah, and the Frost Nova is definitely a lot more flexible to things like if Lotha comes down. Especially when he doesn't have to block up. Being able to respond to Lotha with a Frost Nova is the best thing you can do.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a headache as a freeze mage. Lothab in general though can definitely be a headache.
Well, he is able to use Alexstrasza next turn, and then the turn after that he could just lethal him with the 2 Ice Lances, Frostbolt,
Yep.
and Fireball.
I mean, depending on how much damage Nikith puts into play here.
Yeah, especially with those 2 Power Overwhelmings. And if he plays his Haunted Creeper, he's definitely going to have a minion to stick on the board.
Yeah, this is a lot of damage represented. He's got 10, 11 on board.
So that would be 24 if he just plays Alexstrasza's pass. And then plus the Night Juggler is going to get some daggers in. So he could possibly just die. But he does pick up this Ice Block, which is going to be coming pretty clutch.
Wow, I think, okay.
Is
How
that
much
winning the
damage can
game
he
if he
do?
could block, use some spells, and the next turn Pyroblast?
I think he's like a mana short. If he could play Frostbolt and both Ice Lances, well, that still wouldn't be enough.
So he could push 12 damage this turn if he uses his Ice Block with his Ice Lances and Frostbolt. So he's going to be off on killing him next turn, unless he top decks into another Fireball.
Yeah. I mean, that seems okay. You could, well, it's actually really risky because you want to draw either the other Ice Block or the Fireball if you go with that play.
Yeah.
Alright, he's gonna go for the Alex, and I think this is actually lethal damage. Does the knife need to hit face?
Yeah, he needs to hit 1 knife to the face to be 25. Otherwise he has 24 on the board, I believe. Yeah, he has 24 on the board with the Doomguard double PO. So he just needs 1 to go face. He has the Haunted Creeper that spawns if he power overwhelms that. Plus he has an owl that he can just silence any vanilla target.
Yeah,
So
I
he
think
should
you
be
just
fine.
put the powers on the Haunted Creeper,
Yeah,
That
he's
way
gonna
it
have
kills
4
itself.
daggers.
Yep.
So the only way he
So-
loses is he misses out on 4 50-50s, which is a 1 in 16.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But if he doesn't kill his opponent this turn, he loses for sure. So I
Yeah.
think he's got to go for it.
I mean, yeah, a 1 in 16. I don't think he could pass it up.
Is he not gonna go for it, or does he not see that play? Because now he's missing out on 1 damage, so now he needs 2 knives to face. All right, well,
Oh, he got
there
it.
he goes. He got the 2 knives he needed, but that was a suboptimal way to do it, I think, as he missed out on 1 damage.
Yeah, it increased the risk a little bit.
Either way, it's still a really high chance he wins, and that's gonna be Nick
Tied up.
taking the win for MIT. Wow, it's all tied up 2-2. MIT looking to make the comeback.
Yeah, it was
Will they
really
be
well
able to
played
close
by
it out though?
Zoo.
Yeah.
I do think if the Freeze Mage did use the Flame Strike first and then kept the Frost Nova for the turn after, he might have been in a better position
Yeah, I think
because he would have been
think he
able
could've
to.
won.
Yeah, he would have been able to use the block with He would have had a bit more extra life, right? If he was able to Frost.
well he would have. Yeah, I mean he would have had the Frost Nova
Mm-hmm.
on like that turn later on instead of using it on a turn where you didn't really need to.
Yeah.
But I mean, it happens. Freeze Mage is like a really hard deck to play, and sometimes just doesn't work out that way. So, but we're going into Game 5 here. We're gonna have M Gravitas versus Rain, and there's still a good amount of options left for both schools.
Yeah, if I were to pick, I think MIT might go for the Druid next, because now that Mage is gone, so there's no Tempo Mage. Warlock is gone, so there's no Zoo. So their only bad matchup to try and dodge is Paladin, maybe Rogue. But for New York side, what do they have left?
Let's see. So New York played there. Not a Rapper played. What did he play?
Played Priest.
Was it Priest? Yeah, and then we had their
Druid.
Druid. Thunderhorn played Warlock. Eclipse just played Mage.
Yeah.
So they still got Paladin. They still got Shaman.
Mm-hmm. Do you think,
I think
they're
those
going to go
the-
for a more aggressive deck or more of a control deck?
I would like to see the Secret Paladin, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so
Close
too.
out the series. Something aggressive.
Because MIT they use, or they still have Mage, right? So they could
Yeah,
go
I think so.
They could go for a Freeze Mage because they have seen Druid already, and they have seen Druid and Control Warrior. So Freeze Mage is probably one of the best decks they could bring out for MIT.
Yeah, so maybe actually the VOD teachers will have that in mind, and they'll bring out. They could just have like an aggressive Shaman deck, or I mean like the Burn Shaman deck, because
Yeah, or they could play like a Hunter and put in a Flare if they really think that they're going to go for a Freeze Mage.
yeah, yeah, or just something with Kezan Mystic, I guess. You could even play 2 Kezan Mystics if you really think they're gonna play Freeze. Might be risky.
Yeah.
There's
Because
definitely
they're-
some mind games that could go on here.
Yep, so they should be getting to game in any second now.
Yeah, a lot to think about. I mean, playoffs are on the line.
Yep, playoffs on the line, game 5. Been a really long series because of all the control matchups, but we've been seeing some more of the decks we normally see, like the Zeus and the Secret Paladins.
Right.
Yeah, so surprised that we haven't seen a Shaman in a while, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Shaman is still in a really good spot these days, I think.
Yeah, I do think one thing that pushes it down a little bit is things like Zoo is a bit of a hard matchup on the ladder. And a lot of people have been playing Control Warrior on ladder recently.
Yeah, that's also an issue for sure.
Because I was playing ladder earlier, and I was playing Murloc Paladin, and we just played against... all I played against were Control Warriors and Priests, so they were free wins. But...
I guess it tends to be that way.
well, yeah, they're going... M. Gravitas and Rain just thinking really hard about their decks, what options they have left, what options their opponent has left, what decks has the best in general against what's left for both sides.
Maybe they could just bring out the aggro paladin on New York side.
Without the secrets?
Yeah, just something really aggressive, and then you could have like a Kazan Mystic just as a one of.
Yeah, I could definitely
Something.
see that working, because a Mystic could probably be thrown into any of the decks they have. We got Hunter versus Paladin. Game 5. Hunter on MIT side and Paladin for New York. It looks more like a hybrid Hunter to me. Take out the Abusive Sergeants and a Quick Shot in, so Quick Shot kind of gives away that it's more aggressive, and the Abusive also gives it away. So I'm expecting... It could also just be a straight up face Hunter, not even
Oh
hybrid.
yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility at this point.
Yeah, especially with these explosive traps.
Yeah, and this looks like a pretty standard Secret Paladin from Rain.
Would you give the
So-
favor towards the Secret Paladin or Face Hunter?
I think Face Hunter. Like, these games can be close, especially if the Paladin gets a really aggressive start and the Face Hunter doesn't have very much going on of their own, but I think Face Hunter just has a lot of raw damage, and explosive traps definitely help out. Like, if he can get both explosive traps up this game, which usually isn't too difficult to do between Mad Scientists and just naturally drawing them,
Yeah.
I think that gives him a pretty big advantage.
And even if the Paladin starts to get a board, they have to develop quite a bit onto the board. And then the Unleash the Hounds would just come out and just burst them down.
Right, and another thing that's especially good about Face Hunter versus Secret Paladin, Explosive Trap does not proc secrets, because it happens on the Paladin's turn.
Yeah.
So don't need to worry about those, as long as you are the one applying the pressure, like you're the one who's ahead as the Face Hunter. I think you're in a really good spot in this matchup. You never want to be trading against the secrets.
The Secret Paladin does have a pretty decent hand with the Secret Keeper going into 2 secrets or a shield and mini-bot next turn. It would make the Hunter a little bit awkward. So I think the best thing he can do here is coin out this Haunted Creeper. Because it can either set up for a Knife Juggler or with the Abusive Sergeant.
Yeah. And I think we're going to see Rain throw down these 2 secrets.
And
He isn't
Gravity is
considering
thinking about the
explosive
explosive
traps.
trap.
Oh man, I do not think that is good. Because all he has to do is play 1 secret, and that's going to be your explosive trap down the drain, which is like one of the best cards in the matchup. But
Oh, the Paladin draws another secret, something he doesn't really want to see. He does get to beef up his Secret Keeper quite a bit, but he might also just go for the shield and mini-bot this turn, seeing that the Haunted Creeper is out. Haunted Creeper is not a card that's challenging, really, the Secret Keeper. And
yeah, if
with
he's concerned,
the Redemption and the Avenge doesn't really help the protect the Secret Keeper that much.
I think if he's concerned about Iron Beak Owl, then he would stay away from the secrets. But I think in a lot of other situations, it seems better to play the secrets. Just start buffing the guy up.
Just to get a 3-4. It would be a 3-4, which is pretty hard for the Hunter to deal with. He would have to have like a Glaive Zuka.
Yeah, Glaive Zuka or Abusive Sergeant could do pretty well against the shielded minibot play, because then he could kill off the Secret Keeper pretty easily. Yeah, he does just make it a 3-4.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Quick Shot is pretty good. He does have to take a little bit of a risk to see if this is a Noble Sacrifice, but he could always just check by trading the Haunted Creeper in first. Even if he sees that it is a Noble Sacrifice, the Haunted Creeper is getting popped no matter what. So he might as well see if he can kill the Secret Keeper now.
Yeah, I think starting by trading the Haunted Creeper into the Secret Keeper is good.
Just to see
Even
where you're
like,
at.
yeah, he's probably thinking about playing the Knife Juggler first, but I think I would like to see the Haunted Creeper go attack. Like, even if you miss out on the two knives, you just want to know what the secrets are.
And if he had the perfect information on what these secrets are, definitely the trading in the Haunted Creeper plus the Quick Shot is the best play, because the two Spiderlings will be able to deal with the Redemption Secret Keeper after.
Yep.
Could also be thinking about just going face here. Yep.
Right. And that's what he decides to do. Doesn't want to bother with these secrets at all. Which, fair enough. Make the Paladin trade into you. Maybe the Explosive Trap will kill off the Secret Keeper later on. Mysterious Challenger, not the best draw at this point in the game.
Yeah, especially because he already drew so many secrets. Not going to be that impactful.
Yeah, I'm guessing this Mysterious Challenger is only going to get two secrets later.
Noble Sacrifice and Competitive Spirit, I'm guessing.
Yeah, we already saw Competitive Spirit in his mulligan earlier.
Could also be running the full Christmas tree and have the Redemption as well, but that's not going to do much against Face Hunter.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not very good as a lot of their minions already have 1 health.
So here
Probably
for
thinking about whether or not he wants to trade,
Yeah.
but I mean, if he had more pressure, it would be pretty clear to just go face, but Shield and Minibot is pretty much all he's got after this.
Yeah, especially because he doesn't know what he's going to draw next. If he draws dead, he does want to trade so he can reduce the damage. Otherwise, if he knew he was going to draw into something like a Paladin Shredder next turn, he probably could have just went face.
Yeah. But a little bit awkward.
M. Gravitas now has the chance to possibly clear off this board with the Explosive Trap. First by popping off the Divine Shield and setting the trap.
Yeah, but that might be a little too obvious, so I kind of like this play to just Hero Power instead.
Okay, going face.
Oh wow.
Kings is going to be...
Blessing of
really
Kings could just crack this game wide open by throwing it down on the shielded Minibot, and if there's no Iron Beak Owl from M. Gravitas, he's going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, especially putting on the Minibot with the Divine Shield makes it extra hard to deal with. You have to commit to killing... You have to trade one of your minions in burst, plus get the extra 6 damage if you want to deal with it. But for M. Gravitas, he does have to start trading, I think, because he's just going to get outraced by the Paladin.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. He's going to have to consider a lot of these things carefully on his next turn, how much damage his opponent has represented and how much damage he has represented in his hand. I mean, Blessing of Kings on a Divine Shield 6/6. Alright, or he's going to put it on the Secret Keeper. I think either one is fine, honestly. Especially if he's going to trade here. Yeah, this makes more sense.
Yeah, I like this. Because this also encourages the Hunter to deal with the Minibot first, because it's easier, and then it just gets Redemption.
Yeah.
With 9 damage on the board, he does ran about 3 or 2 turns lethal. So he's going, and looking at his hand, he doesn't have enough damage to kill the Paladin in that clock. He could go for, I guess, Explosive Trap, Hero Power, and then next turn he could maybe do something with a Quick Shot, Unleash the Hounds. Or
Yeah, but man, if he goes for something like that, he's gonna be taking 9 damage, be put down to 11, and potentially just die on the next turn. Or I guess the Explosive Trap. All right, he could take 7 damage.
Oh, and it does buff the
8
Secret
damage.
Keeper.
I always forget about that. Yeah, if I'm Rain here, I think I definitely just go face. Like, even with the shielded Minibot too, just because it could be something like... Well, I guess you probably think it's Explosive Trap, but do you really want to trade into...
No,
On
I
a
don't think
creeper?
so. Because it's not really doing much anyways. You're not really going to die to kill command right now. you're not expecting any Houndmasters because you saw the Leopard Gnomes.
Yeah, I think Bear Trap and Snake Trap are also valid concerns at this point.
Yeah.
Even though it'll probably be explosive, like I think that's a good enough reason to just not attack the Haunted Creeper.
Yeah. Even if it's Bear Trap, it wouldn't even be too bad because you can still trade with the Secret Keeper and it'll be an 8-4.
Yep.
And next turn he does the Mysterious Challenger and pulling out the Noble Sacrifice is going to just block the Hunter by quite a bit.
Yep, and having that 6/6 in play as well. Oh no, the Ironbeak Owl. So now, as M. Gravitas, I think you start off the turn by trading into that 1/1 with your Haunted Creeper.
Yeah. And then you just silence off that extremely buffed up Secret Keeper. Oh, he's going to go for the silence first. Does
Wow,
this mean he's
is-
just going to go face?
This could be a big problem for him. He's really behind in the race, but he's got a lot of burst damage. Maybe he's done the math all the way through. This could set up for lethal.
So let's see, that puts him to 12. He knows that the Paladin has to trade into this Arcane Golem. So he could pop the Noble Sacrifice with his Creeper. He has 2
You know
damage
what?
off the...
I like this Arcane Golem play because what's the difference really between 7 and 6 mana? If your opponent plays Doctor Boom, who cares? Like
Yeah,
he'll
you
just
have-
kill him.
Unleash the Hound.
Yeah, and you know, it's like Mysterious Challenger is probably going to get played. You might as well go with the Arcane Golem.
Yeah,
it
because
forces
you're not
a
going to
few
have
more
the
trades
mana.
from your opponent. Yeah.
Yep, so this is really good. Forcing the trades. And then the Paladin doesn't have enough to kill him next turn.
Yeah, wow, the tide has turned now as M. Gravitas just silencing off that Secret Keeper and then ignoring the secrets. Avenge is going to be a problem, I guess, on this next turn, but is it going to be enough to take care of
So the
everything?
Avenge would make his Challenger and plus the Competitive Spirit, so he's going to have a 10. He would have to kill off the Noble Sacrifice dude after. But he has to trade into his Arcane Golem. He can't kill off the Ironbeak Owl because the Haunted Creeper will always be able to proc the Noble Sacrifice. Would this be enough?
Well, he could start off with Knife Juggler, attack with Haunted Creeper, get
Yeah, I
a
guess I'm
couple of
juggling too.
knives, and then he gets the Unleash the Hounds as well.
Well, he can't. Yeah, he can't clear the. He can't kill him this turn, but he has to kill off the Noble Sacrifice that comes out, and then the Paladin is going to be 2 off lethal, and then I don't think you unleash the Hounds here. I think you probably just play the Argent Horse Rider. That's about the same thing. Because you might see like a Noble, like a Muster for Battle, and then the Unleash the Hounds could be better.
Yep. But, wow, this is just 2 damage off now.
Okay, goes for the Unleash the Hounds. I think it's fine either way. He gets an extra 2 juggles, so this is 4 damage over 3. Yeah, it does make the trade. Does the
It
calculation.
sets up the lethal with quick shot hero power.
Yeah, I really like this. So now it's up to the Paladin to draw 2 damage.
Knife Juggler, oh man.
And he can play 2 minions, so I guess he has a chance. If the jugglers get the 1 and 6. Plus
Wow.
the 1 and 5 after.
Yep,
Or,
it
yeah,
has to go
2, 1 and
face
6.
or it just has to go face or he's dead.
So he's got a 1 in 36 chance of winning this game.
That's definitely not where I like to be. I mean, the chance is better. Like it's better than just drawing something that does no damage. But all right, moment of
Time-
truth.
time to
Ray
see
needs to
some
hit both of
esports.
these juggles. Yeah, both of these juggles need to hit face. All right, I'm assuming the first one missed because I just saw a concede.
Yeah.
But M. Gravitas with the greetings. Wow, the BM.
Wow,
What
an
is that,
MIT
dude?
just the reverse sweep.
Yeah, wow. I mean, that was crazy. Of like all the series we've seen like the past like month maybe, this one was definitely one of the most intense. We saw a lot of sick plays. We saw Noah's Dormu in the first game, which sped up that control matchup. But at the end of the day, it's going to be MIT taking the win 3-2 over New York.
Yeah, and this secures MIT from going into the playoffs now, because no matter what the tiebreaker position, they have that secured. So even in their next week's match, even if they lose, they're still going to make it into the playoffs.
Yeah, wow. Congratulations to them. I mean, they played a solid series there. Reverse sweep has got to feel good. And yeah, wow. I mean, yeah, awesome. So that's going to be it for tonight. We only had one series, unfortunately, but hopefully on Wednesday we will be back with some more series. You can catch us then at 6 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/CStarLeague. And of course, there's some StarCraft 2 that happens as well. You can catch StarCraft 2, which happens on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 Pacific on CStarLeague 2. You can also check out our schedule below to see what other games go on and what else gets played. So we would like to thank our sponsors once again, Twitch, for featuring our matches weekly. We are proud to be affiliated with the largest gaming stream provider in the world, and Asus ROG for being the presenting sponsor of the CSL. They're also funding this season's travel to DreamHack and our prize pool for the year, so be sure to follow their social medias like at @Asus_ROG and thank them for sponsoring the CSL. So once again, I am Root Nomodogan. Yep, you can find us on Twitter, and yeah, we would like to thank everyone for watching. We've got one more week of action coming up next Wednesday and Friday before we go on a short playoff break. On Wednesday, we'll feature St. John's versus Marist and Carleton versus Toronto. Bound to be a fun day of games. As always, follow both our Twitch channels to catch all our content. That's twitch.tv/CStarLeague and twitch.tv/CStarLeague2. And playoffs for CSGO start tomorrow on CStarLeague at 4 p.m. Pacific, so be sure to check that out. And yeah, hope everyone has a good night. Thanks for watching.